Beautiful people, it's me, EL, your favorite dyslexic book nerd here, and I have got an awesome guest for y'all today. With me today, I've got Sarah Raughley. She is the author of the Queen Spade. How you doing? And thank you for being here.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Winston.
Yes, yes, awesome. Let me tell you, this book was magnificent. I
Thank you.
I was on the edge of my seat like most of the reading of it. Um, could you tell our readers a little bit about the book?
So, The Queen's Spade is a thriller. So, I'm glad you were at the edge of your seat because that's what I was going for. It's a thriller, a historical thriller based in the 19th century London. And it's about Queen Victoria's African goddaughter, which a lot of people don't know that Queen Victoria, who was the Queen of England in the 1800s, really had an adopted daughter, basically. That was her goddaughter from Africa. And I thought it was so fascinating because I never learned about that in school. So this book is very much like if you're into Bridgerton or Queen Charlotte, but you want it to be a revenge thriller, that's what this book is.
Definitely. And I did not know that about the Queen until I started reading this book. And I was like, I think I saw a blurb that said that that it was based not based on, but you know what I mean? And so I
Mhm.
was like, what? Really? And so then I went and did some research and I was like, well, I'll be
All
right.
right. That's why I'm hoping more people learn about it because it's Black history, and I just think a lot of our history has just been hidden from us. Like, why didn't we know about this? So, yeah.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I was like, definitely it definitely made it more interesting reading the book to be like, now what if that really happened? Right? That type of deal. So it was pretty cool. Um and through the book I was like, yo, so like I went from feeling Sarah's pain to being like, yeah, let's get him. You know what I mean? Through the book. Like, I don't know if you was going for that, but that's definitely where I was at.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? A lot of Black girls, it's like we're not allowed to be bad, because people are already saying stuff like, oh, you're angry and you're this and that. So we always have to be on our best behavior. But this book, I was like, screw it. And she's just a villain, but she's a villain for a good reason. She's getting revenge against all the people that hurt her. And so it's like Black feminine rage. And even though she does these things against these people, you're supposed to root for her. So I hope that anybody can come into this book and be like, yeah, get him, Sarah.
Definitely, cause you had me at the author's note. It says, what did it say? Um, Let me go back because I was like, oh yeah, I'm tapped all the way in now. It said, um, now I can't find it, but it had me tapped in because it was like, this is not a story of uh,
Is that the beginning of the book?
yeah, at
Yeah,
the
is that
beginning of
in
the
case?
book. Yeah, and I was like, okay, yes, I'm here for that. I also was here for her relationship with I don't know how you say his name.
Rui, yeah.
Rui. Yes. That was I was like, yeah. that back and forth kind of dance they were doing was I was like, okay, I'm here for
Yeah.
that. I'm here for
Re-
that.
It, I think I remember the dedication. It was like to everybody who doesn't fit and doesn't want to.
That's the thing. I'm saying the dedication. Yes, that was the thing. I was like, yes, I'm here for that.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
think it's something that I think a lot of people can identify with because it's like, people, this society wants to categorize you and say, no, this is who you have to be, this is what you have to like. And so Rui is kind of like the same type of person as Sarah Forbes Spinetta. Like in the book, they're both people who have been taught to fit into like white society and civil society and so on, and they could have just continued to go on in their lives being, assimilated, but they're like, you know what, no, we're going to fight against this. And so they challenge the system and they challenge each other, and I think that's where that sort of spicy attraction comes from between them. I tried to make it a bit spicy. Not It's not too spicy.
Not
I
too
don't want
spicy,
people to be like
but definitely a little spicy. I was in, and I'm not really usually a spicy reader type of guy, but I definitely was tapped in with the book from beginning to end. Um,
hey, thank you.
yeah. If you could make it into a movie, right? Who
Mm.
would you want to play the main character?
Oh my God, I don't even know. I mean, I think getting it into a movie would be really difficult anyway, just because, like, I find that a lot of media isn't really supporting movies and shows with Black characters in it and stuff like that. So, but I would definitely want somebody to be, I don't know if this is like controversial to say, but I would want somebody who's fully Black, you know what I mean, to
Mhm.
be the main character, just because like that's where she comes from. Like she's African, and I think we need that representation, you know what I mean?
I feel what you're saying.
So, right. So I'm not gonna say like Zendaya or something like that. You know what I mean? I love Zendaya, I'm not saying bad. This rule isn't for her. But I love to hear from other people. Like I love an unknown. I love somebody who hasn't really been I'd like to have somebody who hasn't been given that chance yet. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
be leading the story. And if not that, then maybe Ayo Adibiri or somebody like that. I don't know.
That is so funny because I've asked this question of quite a few authors that I've had on, and every time they say, I would like for it to be somebody unknown, somebody give somebody a
Interesting.
shot that hasn't been discovered yet.
Yeah, because I was on Twitter the other day, or I guess it's called X now,
Yeah,
and somebody had like a space where they were talking about the disappearance of Black women, specifically Black women from media. And there was somebody who was like an actress, and she was talking about her experiences, and that like her light skinned counterparts and her mixed race counterparts would know about these roles, but then like they were told about these roles that she and her dark skinned counterparts were not told about, and stuff like that. And it's just like, I don't want to get into colorism and all of that, but it is an issue. So I'm thinking, how many potential superstars are being missed out on because they're not looked at as
as star potential
a
or
star
or
potential.
box off drawers.
Exactly, exactly.
I mean, it's definitely a thing. Like it's been a thing for uh,
Forever.
forever, right? Like it's not something that we could say that we aren't aware of or that is not happening. Like there definitely is an issue with colorism in entertainment. Most
Mhm.
definitely. That's, I mean, that's an undeniable fact. You have to, you cannot, um you know what I'm saying, you cannot dispute that fact, that is the case.
Mhm.
And what do you think that, um what do you think that we can do, like, to start to shift that?
I think just every time you see media that, and it sucks because a lot of the media that does have Black women in it, it's not really well promoted. But when you hear about it, just support it. It's the same thing with like books. Like you just got to support our books because money
Absolutely.
talks in a lot of these instances. And if the publisher sees like, oh, a lot of people are reading this book, they're buying it, they're pre-ordering it and stuff like that, then they'll be like, okay, I guess there's demand for this. So I guess just keep talking about it, but especially like support the work.
Makes sense. Yeah. And that's been something I've had a lot of discussions with other authors and stuff about how it is being a Black person trying to navigate the publishing industry, getting published, whether it be as an indie author or a mainstream author, and getting your work out there.
Mm. I mean, it's tough, I think. I've been seeing a lot of it's sad because I've been seeing a lot of fellow Black authors just saying like they quit or they're burnt out and stuff like that. And I, on one hand, I understand what they're saying and I
Mm,
understand why they want to quit. But on the other hand, I'm like, people need your stories, like kids need your stories, adults need your stories. But I think there just needs to be more support from the publishers
mm,
and there needs to be more like publicizing of our books. Like, is that promotion? We're writing our books, but people don't know that our books are out there. So there needs to be more of that. And I think, in 2020, when we're having those Black Lives Matter protests, a lot of these publishers were like, oh yeah, we're down with that. You know what I mean? Like we're down for
mm.
the cause. And so they were buying up all of these books by Black authors, talking about Black people, Black issues. But now it takes usually 2 or so years, like maybe a little less than 2 years, for those books to actually come out from the time that they're bought to publication. So, now we've seen like, okay, that support didn't really last.
Mm,
Like once the frenzy around that and people sort of forgot about how they're feeling during the George Floyd protests, it's like they just stopped caring. So a lot of those books were pushed out and not supported. And it's
mm.
like, no, you can't just support us like whenever something bad happens.
Right?
You know, that's terrible. Like you got to support us throughout. So I say for any author, you just got to keep writing and putting your books out there and trying to reach people as much as possible.
Definitely. Cause I think uh it was either Instagram or Threads. I think it was Threads where I saw your post about the Queen of
Yeah.
Spade. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I would love to read that book and us sit down and talk about it. And then I realized you had written other books like I had never heard of before. And so like now I got them also. And so now they're on
Thank
my
you.
TBR to read. I can't wait to get into them as well, cuz like we have to I'm big on that. If we can't do it for ourselves, then we can't expect anyone else to do it. And so we have to support our people,
Hmm.
and especially because even to be public, like if you're doing mainstream publishing, if you've been picked up by a publishing company, you had to have been twice as good as your counterparts to even get to the table. And so I think that like we most definitely need to continue to support in droves our indie authors, our traditionally published authors, any publisher, I mean any author of color,
Mhm.
right? We
Mhm.
need to be in support of, well, I mean, yeah, we should be in support of. So I be trying to do my part, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, you are so welcome. But I was looking at the other books, and I don't think they're thrillers. I think they're more like sci-fi and fiction. You could correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't get to read the synopsis of them. I saw you wrote them, I bought them. So when I get to them, I'll know what they're about. But I saw that you wrote them, so I bought them.
Thanks. I mean, they're fantasy. I actually started out more as a fantasy writer, so the Queen Spade being a historical thriller is actually like an outlier for
Mm,
me.
okay.
But the first series that I wrote was from Simon and Schuster called the Effigy series. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you're into like Sailor Moon or the Winx Club, or if you've heard of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very much like girls of color, but they're like fighting against evil, that kind of thing. They're like superheroes, but they're also celebrities, kind of like they have their own social media fandoms and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it was just, a fantasy adventure, just very fun.
Okay.
And the second series that I wrote, the Bones of Ruin trilogy, also from Simon and Schuster,
I bought
it's just,
those.
oh, hey, thank you. It's a 19th century historical. I like to think of it as like X-Men in the 19th century,
Cool.
So it's like people with powers. And there's like a Hunger Games element where they have to like fight each other, and it's set in the 1800s, 1885. So it's like my other works have always been like more fantasy focused. So for the Queen Spade, I went for something more of a thriller.
And
That
how was that?
It was really exciting because again, like I grew up on fantasy. I grew up on, fantastical stories. Like I love anime and manga and stuff like that. And so like to write something that didn't have any fantasy elements in it, I was like, dang, this is weird. But but at the same time I was like, I like that I'm challenging myself to do something different. And I remember my agent read it and she was like, this feels like a fantasy without being a fantasy. I guess
Hmm.
because of the adventure-ish. I mean, something's always happening and
Yeah.
you're still fighting against, there's still this like conflict. I don't know, like,
That's interesting. I mean, that could be why I'm so drawn to the story, because I'm a real big sci-fi fantasy guy. Like that's like 90% of what I read, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
so like I've started to get into other genres because I just don't want to expose my readers to just the stuff that I like, right? Like I want to expose them to, because we have a lot of dope BIPOC authors that write a lot of dope different genres. And so in that I have expanded my palette for different genres of reading, right? And so but that could be that's a very interesting take, because that could be why I've been drawn to the story from the beginning. That's interesting.
I mean, I was surprised when my agent said it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna see what I can do to maybe duplicate this. Like, I don't know if my next book is gonna be fantasy or thriller or whatever, but I just, it's gonna be exciting. I like exciting stories that like hooks you and keeps you to the end and that kind of thing.
Yes, I was definitely hooked from beginning to end, all the way through. So mission accomplished, definitely. Where could my readers find you?
So I have a website, www.sarahrawley.com. So that's SARAHRAUGHLEY.com. I'm also on Instagram and Threads, and other social media platforms. You can find me at S_Raughley. And if anybody's interested in buying my book, like you can always buy it from your local indies. I always say support your local bookstores because they're doing a lot of heavy lifting. But you can find my stuff in bigger chain stores, like if you're in Canada, Indigo, or Chapters, and if you're in America, Barnes and Noble, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Y'all most definitely go out and get those books. The Queen Spades, it will be out on January
14th.
14th. All right. So you guys are seeing this early, right? You guys are seeing this January 1st, right? The book comes out January 14th. That
Yes.
means y'all got 13 days to get a pre-order the book.
Yep.
Pre-order the book from wherever you buying it from. Pre-order today.
Pre-order.
Today.
You know what
Pre-order.
I'll say? Publishers always, and this is a trade secret, publishers always look at the pre-orders. They always look at the pre-orders first, even before like the first week sales or anything like that. And they may even decide like whether or not they'll keep supporting the author and stuff like that based off of the pre-orders. So it's like pre-orders count so much.
Y'all heard it here. That's a gem. So pre-orders matter. Y'all get out here, pre-order that book, and January 15th, I'll be live, book therapy. Y'all already know the vibe, talking about this book. So if y'all get it, if y'all get that pre-order in, y'all should be a little bit into the book on the 15th when I start talking about the book, right? But I promise not to give away anything when we sit down and talk about it on the 15th. So yeah, y'all make sure y'all go out and do that for me. Sarah, thank you so much for coming and sitting down with me and my book therapy peeps. I appreciate you and your time. Thank you so much. Before we go, I do this thing, right? So if there was one word you could leave with my readers to get them through to the next time they see me, what would
Mm.
it be and why?
Health, health, health. Take care of your health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health. I've been, look, oof, child. I don't want to get too into it, but these past few weeks have been tough from like just like the job. You know what I mean? Like I have my day job on top of being a writer
Mhm.
and like just trying to keep my head above water, paying bills and stuff like that. And it's tough to write, to create when you're like always in this frenetic state, in this anxious state. So, you can't do anything until you have that health first. You got to take care of your health. You got to eat good, eat well, you know, get your therapy in, your meditation, anything that you need to really like calm your spirit, and just always put your health at the forefront of anything. My mom always says health is wealth. So, health, definitely.
I like that. Yes, indeed. I understand. Yeah, it has been a rough couple weeks for me as well. I had COVID earlier.
Oh
This,
no.
yeah, I had
Mm,
COVID early on, at the end of sort of like the end of last month, just before my birthday, and
mhm,
it feels like I'm still trying to catch up with regular life since I was sick. It's
mhm,
still
mhm.
still been a battle, but we still trucking. We still
Yep.
trucking. So, you know. Thank you so much again. Hey, y'all do me a favor. Go out and pre-order this book. And until the next time I see y'all, y'all read a book.
Thank you.